what do I ask you? What's happening in your school? What's happening right now in your school? Are you engaged with school boards and county commissions to find out what is going on with some of these kids? What are they learning? What are they being taught to write about? The first thing I want to get to is this breaking story. Another school board story has come out. And this is actually a mayor that is coming to grips. The story kind of came out on Twitter, and then I tracked down this detail. So this is a tweet. She says, breaking, the Hudson mayor demands all school board members resign or face criminal charges over a high school course material that he said the judge called child pornography. I'm going to give you a simple choice. You either choose to resign or you will be charged. Now, I want to go ahead and do this clip. Let's see if I can get this to play for you. I think I've got audio going, and we can see that as well. This is, let me see here, turn up the volume.
Your education.
Let me turn this up. And hopefully you can hear it.
Earl, members of the board, my name is Craig Schubert.
Craig Schubert.
Mayor of this city.
He's this
It
mayor.
has come to my attention that your educators are distributing essentially what is child pornography.
Can you imagine?
In the classroom. I've spoken to a judge this evening. She's already confirmed that. So I'm going to give you a simple choice. You either choose to resign from this Board of Education, or you will be charged.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine the confrontation of these teachers? And I want to tell you that I've been writing about stuff, covering different topics and stuff going on in schools, really for over a decade now. And I have had a story that I wrote, I believe it was on the Global Dispatch, but it may have been back when I posted a story on Desk O'Brien. And I remember posting just what was reported that this teacher had presented to their students. It was flagged as pornography, and they literally took it all down. I didn't even get an email alert or anything like that. I was in violation of publishing what they gave these children. And I did not, I think it was a high school. So I didn't get a chance to even say, well, this is news, it's commentary, whatever. It was just, there was just no comments. There was no real forums back then. There was no way to even dispute this. So that happened the first time. And I really didn't at the time think much or really get too much into it. And over the, I think it was probably maybe 2 years later. And excuse me, there was another one. This was a Canadian story. And it was so graphic. It was male on male and oral sex from behind. And it was kind of the same thing, but at least there was a dispute option. And then I could republish, or I could put the post back up, but I had to take the image out. So imagine things that are happening in schools that are so graphic that they don't even meet general publishing guidelines for Google and the internet. And that's before we get to 2021 standards, where we have so many woke rules, social justice rules, things we have to jump through because of sensitivity. This is years ago. So that's a general overview of what I saw on Twitter. Let me hop over here for you so you can see the details for yourself of what is actually happening and what Mayor is talking about. So this is the 642, the 642 things to write about. So this is basically a writing comp prompt. And it is, quote, by the San Francisco Writers Grotto. And so this is the Hudson Mayor. This is in Ohio, Mayor Craig Schubert. And it talks about the calling for their resignations, the liberal arts 2 writing class. So this would probably be juniors and seniors, most likely seniors. And again, it's basically the quote from the video that we just saw. And then this goes through a breakdown. So this is a mother who, one of the seniors, basically brought this home. This is their writing prompt. Choose how you'll die. Write a scene that begins, it was the first time I killed a man. Describe your favorite parts of a man's body using only verbs. You have a dream that you've murdered someone. Who is it? How and why the murder happened, and what happens afterwards. You're a serial killer. What TV shows are on your DVR list and why? The kill fee. Okay, so we've just begun. We have the one example that's at least the least of these is write a favorite part of the man's body using only verbs. Everything else is about murder. You know, how you'll die, how you'll kill someone, details on murder. This is a writing prompt class, not broad generalizations. This is the first section. Now it is write a sex scene that you would not show your mom. Rewrite the sex scene from above into one that you would let your mom read. Now you've just been caught in bed by a jealous spouse. How would you talk your way out of it? Can you get this? Like, you know, we're telling high schoolers this is their writing assignment, to teach them how to be writers or improve their writing skills, their verbal skills. Write a sermon for a beloved preacher who has been caught in a sex scandal. Describe a time when you wanted, oh geez, I don't even want to talk about that. 10 euphemism for sex. You're a brand new suicide hotline counselor. Describe how you feel during the course of your first call. Write a letter from the point of view of a drug addict. Drink a beer and write about the taste. Write an X-rated Disney scenario. This is another writing, a room full of people who want to sleep together and the first time you had sex. So these are just some of the, I guess, more salacious topics. I'm sure there's a lot of others. The lady's child just says, yeah, there's stuff in it that's very inappropriate. There was no, real hiding any of this. Police were involved, and they used body snapshot of what was going on, created some public record about what was being taught, and this led to the principal, who told them, there are times we need to take a step back and reflect and get better. Get better. There's our buzzword, get better. But this time it's a different kind of thing. So let's see. This is a quote. Let's see, make sure I got this right. Yeah, this is the principal. So the principal says, we did not exercise our due diligence. Write a pornographic Disney story. We did not exercise our due diligence. We reviewed the resource. We overlooked several prompts that were not appropriate. We felt terrible. We can't unsee the writing prompts. So they issued apology. They collected them all. Blah blah blah. So that's what led up to this. So why do I bring all this up? Well, as I've done many times when I'm bashing the schools and the different things that are going on, what do I ask you? What's happening in your school? What's happening right now in your school? Are you engaged with school boards and county commissions to find out what is going on with some of these kids? What are they learning? What are they being taught to write about? I can't imagine even sex coming up in conversation, and maybe that's a bad thing when I was in school, but because I think there is a time and a place, but in 2021, and for the last 10 years, and definitely the 20-something years that I've had my own kids, always felt like it was my job to deal with all that, right? It was my job to talk to my kids and my family and take ownership of some of those conversations. And I'm sure I failed miserably versus what I would want to accomplish. But I wouldn't want teachers having my kids write about basically pornographic material, drink a beer and tell me what does it taste like? Like how are we even getting that through? Like, how does that even, what teacher is allowing the curriculum to get that far? And I understand with teachers, usually there's like a cohort where you have 3 or 4 teachers. So this wasn't like a quiet thing. This was like at least a handful of teachers. So that means a handful of teachers kept this quiet. They're teaching these kids this, obviously, write a pornographic Disney story. Like, this is, I don't know. All right. So that's a story I know we're not going to get to on the show. I wanted to throw that out there so you can see it. And again, if you run across a story and you want us to kind of dive into a little bit, I gave you the little ins and outs of what they actually are covering, where the story kind of comes from. Because I think sometimes this stuff, it gets out there and then you're like, well, I don't understand what the issue is. What's really going on? So that's one of the reasons that I think we wanted to do the show and really bring it back in a different way to let you know the actual thing. That's why I wanted to read it to you so you can see some of the things that are going on there at that school. And like I said before, how many things are happening at your child's school. So,
hey, we're News Talk with Brandon and Bob. We're here to tell you about some of the facts so you don't have to waste your time watching CNN.
We don't want you wasting any time with CNN.
Or Fox or MSNBC or some of these other guys that are making a whole lot of money.
Et cetera, et cetera.
Not paying.